Hi there, I'm Mike Gales for Fight Your Way Fit, and in this video I want to show you guys some strength and conditioning exercises for boxing that you can do at home. Because all of the best pro boxers add strength and conditioning exercises to their routines to up their boxing game and increase their performance. Of course, there are all the standard things like bag drills, speed bag drills, double-ended bag, and shadow boxing. There are also cardiovascular training activities such as jump rope, biking, as well as good old-fashioned road work like jogging and sprints. Many fighters even incorporate weight training and different forms of resistance training into their programs. And all of these things are absolutely awesome, especially if you have access to a gym. If I had to recommend you focus on one thing in particular when going to the gym, it would be on explosive training for your legs and your core. And I'll do a separate video specifically for what I would do at the gym. But what are some things that you can do with minimal to no equipment or without having to go outside? There are tons of different options, but let's cover a few exercises that I, as a strength and conditioning specialist, really like to do at home. First exercise, I'm going to hold out and extend my left arm as if I was throwing a jab. Then I'm simply going to raise my left leg and try to hold this position for 1 minute. It seems easy enough, but just try it. Whoa, well maybe it's not that easy after all, but I bet you that Mayweather or Pacquiao can easily do it because they have conditioned their core muscles to be able to control their balance. Aside from helping to strengthen the muscles of my core to maintain my balance, it's also training my proprioception, which is your body's ability to sense movement, action, and location. And that's critical for boxing, as if you can maintain your balance, you can maintain your punching power and your ability to properly defend yourself in different positions. Next, I will raise my right arm and hold that position for 1 minute. Once again here, I'm simply trying to maintain my balance. Now I will rest 30 seconds, and then I'm going to do the same thing by holding up my right leg and my right arm outstretched this time, and I will hold that for 1 minute. Finally, I will do the exact same thing, but this time with my left arm out as I keep my right knee up as high as comfortably possible. Great job. Now rest 1 minute and then let's move on. Let's see if we can repeat that by keeping a bend in the arm as if we were throwing a hook. Try 1 minute holding your left arm up while keeping that left knee up nice and high. Now hold the right arm up in the hook position. Rest 30 seconds. Then finally we're going to do the exact same thing, but this time we're going to keep the right knee up nice and high while we hold the right arm up there for 1 minute. Then for the final minute, we're going to hold the left arm up. If at any time you have to put your leg down, do that. Rest a moment and then continue as soon as you're able to do so. Once you have mastered maintaining your balance while holding your position, we will move on to maintaining your balance for 1 minute while you're moving. This is more difficult as moving your arms will make it more difficult to maintain your balance. So raise up that left leg and slowly extend your arms out for 1 minute. Then we will do the same thing, but this time you're going to keep your right knee up nice and high while you extend your punches out for 1 minute. Next, this one's a little bit more difficult. You will hold up your left knee and rotate your core as if you were throwing some hooks. Try and do that for 1 minute. Finally, you'll do the same thing, but this time raise up your right knee and rotate your core. Once again, 1 minute. Finally, if you are a little more advanced and found that to be too easy, then you can progress to using an exercise ball if you happen to have one. Disclaimer alert, this is an advanced move, so try it at your own risk, as I do not want you falling off and hurting yourself. Place the ball on the floor and climb onto it, keeping your knees bent while maintaining your position on the ball. I will extend my arms out in front of me as if I was throwing straight punches, and I'll do that for 1 minute. Notice that I'm not going ballistic here. I'm just extending my arms out in a smooth fashion, forcing the muscles of my core to maintain my balance. After my minute is over, I'll rest for 30 seconds and perform the same exercise again. Next up, I'm going to attempt the same thing, but instead of the straight punches, I'll use my core to rotate in the same fashion as I would throw those hooks. I'm going to follow the same structure of doing this for 1 minute and then resting 30 seconds before I repeat my second set. If you like the way that I explain different exercises, then please come check me out at fightyourwayfit.com, where I offer one-on-one training consultations and tons of free fitness articles that are all designed to help you achieve your fitness goals. But for now, let's move on. For my next exercise, I'm going to use a small towel. I'm going to place that towel against an immovable object like a wall. Here I'm going to use the frame of this door. I place my fist into the towel and I put myself into a similar position of how I would be at the end range of my jab. Just note that my elbow is not completely locked out, it's just slightly bent, and that will help develop the muscles of my arm. What I'm going to do is use the muscles of my legs and core and arm to push into the wall as I hold the position. This is an isometric contraction, meaning that I'm not really moving. My muscles are just isometrically contracting to maintain my position as I try to drive my jab into the wall. I'll hold the position for about 30 seconds or until failure. I'll then rest 30 seconds and do it one more time. Next up, I'll repeat the process and do the same thing, but I'll place myself into the end position of my cross. Once again, I have just a slight bend in my elbow to keep some tension on the muscles of my arm. I'll rest and repeat the process for the second set. For my next exercise, I'll move over here so that you can see me a little better. I'm going to place my body at about the end power range of my lead hook and push into the wall and then hold that isometric contraction for about 30 seconds. I'll rest for 30 seconds and repeat it again. I'll attempt the same 2 sets of this exercise, but now I'll simply lower my arm as if I were throwing a lead hook to the body. Finally, I'll end this series of exercises with the same 2 sets for the rear hook to the head and then the rear hook to the body respectively. Another option, if you like, is to do these same exercises using an exercise ball, which adds an extra element of difficulty as you will need to maintain your balance and not have the ball roll away from you or have your wrist collapse from the pressure of pushing into the ball. So again, disclaimer, only try this at your own risk, but it does give an effective isometric workout to the muscles involved in punching. I will do the straight punches for 2 sets each, with a 30-second respite between sets, followed by a lead hook to the head for 2 sets, a lead hook to the body for 2 sets, a rear hook to the head for 2 sets, and finally a rear hook to the body for the last 2 sets. Again, with 30 seconds rest between each set. Now that I have the ball out, I will try to train with a little movement here. I'll place myself into a lunge position and maintain this position as I rotate the large ball. And I'm going to do this with a bit of speed. Not as fast as I can, but perhaps about like 80% speed. So that's pretty fast. And I'll complete 30 repetitions and then rest for 30 seconds. I'll do the same thing with my other leg in front. Once again, I will aim for those 30 repetitions of rotations with about 80% speed. I will rest for 1 minute and repeat these 2 rotational exercises one more time. Next, I will use some resistance bands, which can be purchased online or at any retail store fairly cheaply. I will need to place the bands somewhere about shoulder level, and you can try and anchor the bands with something like a hook against the wall, or perhaps the banister of some stairs if you happen to have them. I will use this door. For this particular exercise, I will wear something with long sleeves to reduce the friction from the bands. I will place the bands under my armpits, and from there, I will explosively try to throw the old 1-2, the jab cross, and I will try to throw it as fast as I can while holding onto those bands. I will usually aim for 30 to 40 repetitions, depending on the stiffness of the bands. I will rest for about 1 minute and then do another set. I will complete 3 sets of this particular exercise in total. Right after your last set, you may opt to do some shadowboxing, throwing some very fast punches for maybe about 30 seconds to have your body readjust to throwing punches without any resistance. That's kind of the same thing that guys in baseball do when they put a weight on the bat and then take the weight right off to make the bat swing a little faster. Finally, for my last exercise, which may be optional for those of you who don't spar or fight, but if you're taking some punches, then these are the most important muscles to strengthen condition. They are the muscles of your neck. I'm going to use the stability ball, and I'm going to lie on the ball and make the motion of saying yes for 40 repetitions. If you don't have a ball, you can do the exact same exercise by simply lying on the floor. And note here that there's nothing explosive or ballistic, just slow, controlled movements. Next, I will look from a neutral position to the left for 40 repetitions. Then from neutral to right for 40 repetitions. Then I will do some circular movements to the left for 40 repetitions, followed by some circles to the right for 40 repetitions. Finally, I will tilt my head to the left and to the right for 40 repetitions. As an extra bonus, I will use a neck harness with some resistance bands. If you don't have a neck harness, don't worry, you can simply use the belt from your pants. And what I'm going to do is place the resistance bands around the door and then either to the neck harness or to the belt. I will step away from the door to increase the tension of the bands. I will assume a boxing stance and hold that position for 1 minute. This again will create an isometric contraction of the muscles in my neck as I hold the position. I will do the same thing facing to my right, which will work the muscles on the side of my neck as I hold that position. Then I will do a 180 and face in the other direction to force the muscles on the other side of my neck to contract and stabilize to hold that position. This last one is optional, but I have had some neck issues from being at the computer for too long. So I will perform this exercise called a chin tuck for 40 repetitions. Using this setup, you can perform many different exercises for your neck, such as rotational exercises and neck flexion exercises. But for beginners, using these isometric stability exercises will be just fine. Now keep in mind that each of us is different. For all of the exercises, if you cannot do what I've shown here, then don't stress over it. You do what you can and you'll get there in time. Many of you may also find this too easy. If that's the case, then you can increase the number of sets and repetitions. You can also increase the stiffness of the exercise bands to offer greater resistance. And finally, don't be afraid to adapt these suggestions to your current fitness level. These are just some ideas that I hope can help you with your strength and conditioning. As always, I wish you all of the best with your training.